Welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me. It's May 2nd, 2025, and it is also Friday. Looking forward to a very busy weekend. I hope everyone is going to have a good weekend ahead. There's quite a bit going on overnight as well as this morning, again, as has been of late. So today is going to be in the news. Aside from the trades, we are getting the huge jobs numbers prior to the market open, but after I'll have this posted. I'm getting this out before, so I don't know what the job numbers are coming in. But we did have the stocks are beginning to rise as they're seeing a trade deal nears. Now, this is in respect to China. We had reporting earnings coming in from Apple as well as Amazon, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So let's get started, as always, with the markets. Now, we've got the fair grade meter sitting at 40, still in fear territory, but we're watching more retailers jump back in as the boards are going green. So it is looking bullish at the moment. They are anticipating these trade deals to start going through. In particular, with China is the first one that they are looking at. Now, if this gets denied or blows up or has any issues with this, the markets will immediately react in a very negative way. But what we've got going on in the background, we're watching the 10-year yield and the relative strength of the dollar have both relatively stabilized, at least short term. Now, expect both to continue lower eventually and in the larger picture. So 10-year yield, and we'll talk about rate cuts in a bit, but 4.2 at the moment. And it's not moving with incredible volatility as it was not so long ago. We've got the relative strength of the dollar is in a decent position, but looking to drop further. Now, we've got cryptocurrencies have jumped again, Bitcoin 96.6. But the rest of cryptocurrency is showing a bit of weakness as more money is pouring back into the stock market. So, money flowing out of the safe haven of bonds and kind of the speculation cryptocurrencies are now kind of showing a slight bit as safe haven. And gold now, with this volatility, index is down. Stocks are going up. But we've got gold still kind of recovering a bit on this price. This is temporary. It's got a bit more correction if these stocks go up. Oil is really getting hit. There is talk about peace talks, but more in the larger picture, demand is going down. Now, typically that indicates recession. So while they're all talking about how the economy is still going on strong, the truth is told in the oil and the trade, and they're both saying that this economy currently is in recession. Now, the jobs report right now, our daily driver is greed, money flowing into the markets and stock. We're watching that jobs number pre-market because that could really throw difference in the works here. So we've got a lot of costs coming up in companies, major discussion in all of their meetings. Now, they've got two choices. Either they pass on this cost, which means their prices increase, and that's major increase in inflation, or they cut their spending, which normally a large portion of that is they either cut the salaries or they cut jobs just across the board. So as they cut their costs, they also cut the amount of goods that they have. They see where they can save on these capital expenditures. We've got the Bank of England. They're expecting to cut their rates, and that is kind of showing that they've got weakness. It's an admission of this. Now, back to Bitcoin, we have Sailor of Strategy Company is buying again. He made another massive buy. But we also have traders, as it says, optimistic about the Chinese trade deal. And I'll talk about Japan in just a moment. Now, we've got the futures also showing green, but a bit hesitant. We are waiting on those numbers. This is really relatively flat. So we'll see what those bring. Calendar, we've got that non-farm payrolls. This is the big one, 8:30 in the morning. We are also expecting earnings from a couple other companies, but I don't know any of those that would really move the market. Now, this is all on China saying that they are looking at the US initiative for trade talks. One interesting thing of note is that this happened right after the signing of the deal of United States with Ukraine over the rare earth minerals, because that was one of the larger holds that China really did have in order to push the United States into a trade deal on a short time limit. A lot of other things became a war of attrition, and I believe that was a larger contributing factor that no one is speaking about. So once the United States had a viable alternative to one of their main holdings, it did influence this. We'll see how this goes. We've got Japan hinting at using 1.13 trillion in US treasuries as leverage in their trade talks. Now, this is alarming the traders because if you remember last August, they pretty much tanked the markets with only a small sell up on these. Now, this is media headline. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because they always have to add a bit of drama into this. And really, what they said was that they've got all cards on the table because they have to protect themselves as well. So I don't think that they're going to do this. I think they know better. It would be labeling them as currency manipulator. But they do have the ability to do this. I've been speaking about this for quite some time, and not many others are speaking about it. But I think it's a lot more significant than what a lot of economists are giving it weight to or speaking about in the finance media. So we had this come up as well. They're talking about a flat 1660 monthly Social Security benefit for everyone. And it is one of the proposed Congressional Budget Office remedies. Now, this should be very angering to anyone who works or has worked in the United States because you are forced to pay into this for the entirety of your work term. And this is supposed to be a bit of, a holdover for your working days. You do contribute, and it's kind of promised back. So see what you think about that. There has been instances where this has been privatized, namely South American countries, and they've done very well with it going private because there's much more options for the investments of it. Now, market bits, Apple and Amazon, their earnings were good. However, their guidance dropped. So both of them at this moment, their pre-market, their stock shares are falling. So even though they did really well, if you're not looking forward on your guidance, they don't like that and they're selling off a bit. I do expect a recovery, however, just shows kind of the direction that the markets are going right now. Now, Chevron meeting estimates, but they don't have a great outlook because, as we were just speaking about, oil prices have dropped significantly below the $60 level and look to continue in a bit of weakness. Now, I want to skip over this is kind of the implementation that will be going forward. Anduril is a company that I've spoken about before. They're a drone company. And the Air Force has built through DARPA, funded them, this combat aircraft called Fury. Now it's unmanned warfighter, and they're beginning ground testing. So pretty interesting developments here as well as they demand more money to pour into this for the artificially intelligent combat machines defense sector proving to be strong. Now, the economy sees a darkening outlook, but they're sticking by their projections for 2 rate cuts from the Fed this year. But also the speak and the probabilities are saying not prior to September. I agree with that. I don't think we're going to see some unwinding enough that it will pressure these egos that are in there at the moment. They do want to cut the rates, but they want to make it look like it's absolutely needed prior to them doing this. So it is in their benefit to do this. It's not good for the people necessarily for the purchasing power of the dollar, but they're not concerned about the good of the people, and they should make it clear. Now, I've been speaking about this. The Treasury Committee eyeing stablecoin boom, fueling US bond demand. This is because they are tokenizing bonds right now. The 10-year yield that everybody watches, now these are traded on the markets. And if they start using these stable coins, which are also CBDCs, will make it much easier and much more rapid trading for these treasuries, which means that they can kind of capitalize on this. They can also bring in more derivatives and leverage this, get more loans against them, etc., etc. So good for them. Now, before I leave you for the day, the first couple of things is that I am not going to be in on Sunday. I'm going to be out for a bit, but I will be back Monday. There is possibility I'm going to try to get something out by Sunday evening, in particular, depending on some of the movements and what happens today, to keep you up on things. But these are a couple of others that I would like to recommend. Now, first, this is Truth Warrior. And I'm going to put a link in the description to see this. He just interviewed Greg Manorino, and I think it was a good interview on really what is staying important in life. Now, just a thought, as a child, used to ask each other, if you were wealthy, if you're a millionaire, what would you do with your money? And you never asked that second question. The second part of that question is, why aren't you doing that now? So there is a point to building, but none of us know how much time we've got left. So loved ones are the most important, and to pay attention to the time that you share on this earth. You've got to live in the meantime of all of this stuff going on. So don't let your life go away. The second is we've got Pico's Trading Desk. They do a lot of contributions on things. He's got a Substack, and he's just put out another article here. I'm kind of putting this here so you can read this and hopefully go find it, because I'm going to try to leave a link. But every time I leave a link to something other than YouTube, including either of these, this is on X. For Raymond Ranaletta also does a lot of contact. So the links get taken out or marked as spam, or they go against me. So I'm going to try to leave these two links in here if you would like, as well as one for Truth Warrior. But if you just want to look them up, this is Atlantic Underground, who just did the interview with Craig. So with all of this, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I appreciate you all so much for the support and getting this word out there as we're getting closer to this event coming in. So much love all, and until I see you again, stay free.